So in today's video, I'm going to show you God's view on child sacrifice in the Bible and why he clearly and categorically hates these kind of offerings. So let's basically get into it. First and foremost, I want to thank those supporting us to actually make more videos like this much more quickly. You know who you are, and I pray that God blesses you for supporting us in the ministry. Now, ultimately, to really debunk this claim very simply, there are literally 3 pieces of text, small pieces of passages in 3 different places in the Bible, which can actually help you dismantle this claim really easily. Now there's 2 short references for you to learn in 2 of these books, and the third one, which is actually the most pivotal in regards to what we're talking about today, is just a standalone piece of text in one of the books. Right now, the 3 books you need to understand a little bit about are Leviticus, Jeremiah, and the book of Deuteronomy. Now the first book, which is Leviticus, which many people say today, you know what, I don't want to read Leviticus, or it's a boring book. We actually did a recent live stream showing you some of the powerful lessons you can actually get from the book of Leviticus. I'll leave that in the description box with a link as well if you want to consider watching that after this video. But the fact of the matter is this: the one thing you need to really ascertain from the book of Leviticus, there's 2 references which are pretty much close in proximity. They both basically say the same thing, but ultimately what they say in the book of Leviticus is God did not desire, right, the Israelites to make child sacrifices as the Egyptians, where they were actually coming out from previously as slaves, were doing, and also as the Canaanites in the land they were actually going to repossess from them were actually doing. God said 2 times they were abominations before him, and these were one of the reasons why the land is literally spewing them out, and actually God is actually judging them. So if you master these 2 pieces of text in close proximity in regards to the book of Leviticus, this is the first building block in regards to showing someone why God not only did not want child sacrifice, but why he also abhorred it and hated it. Now, the reason Leviticus is a great book to kind of start with contextually, because it's pretty much at the beginning of the law in regards to the children of Israel, ultimately. That's number 1. The second book I'll recommend you to also has another 2 pieces of text, short pieces of text in 2 different places, and that is the book of Jeremiah. Now, Jeremiah, like Leviticus, basically the reason this is a good book to kind of reference next is because this is basically towards the end of the Old Testament kind of period, the Old Testament books, right? So it shows you a constant theme in regards to what God actually set up. In the beginning of the children of Israel, he did not want these sacrifices. In the end, pretty much, of the children of Israel, there is a little bit of time after Jeremiah and the time he was actually going about doing his business and his prophecies, but for the most part, that's generally dealing with the most significant amount of time between Leviticus and actually Jeremiah. In Jeremiah, like I said, there's another 2 pieces of text where God is basically about to judge the Israelites, and he's saying, look, one of the things they actually did, which was abominable, was they were actually offering their sons and daughters as idol worship to the false god Baal. Right? In Leviticus, it's referenced as Molech. Ultimately, in Jeremiah, God is basically using the false deity Baal. Jeremiah is prophesying about the destruction coming to Israel because of the wicked things they were doing, like copying the practices of the pagans, which are actually offering their children alive. Now, if you actually read the first reference in Jeremiah, what does the Lord say? He said, these things did not even come into his heart for the children of Israel to actually do. If you read the second scenario in Jeremiah, which is a little bit later in the book, what does the Lord say? Again, he says, you know what? These things that the Israelites are doing in comparison to the pagans was something that did not even come into my mind at any single time, right? For the most part, this will be sufficient when you're dealing with, let's say, for example, an atheist that may be trying to say that God is into child sacrifice. This is generally going to be sufficient because, like I've showed you already today, it shows you the constant theme pretty much from the beginning of the children of Israel to pretty much the end kind of period of the children of Israel as a nation, so to speak, in their own land, right? You are going to have some people that will try and be a bit technical and say, you know, well, the only reason God was angry with these offerings because they were not offerings dedicated to him. God wanted those kind of offerings, but to him. He didn't want them to be offered to other people. And this is where the third book comes in handy. And like I said at the start of this video, this is actually the most powerful scripture of all of these references, because it really could be the one you could use right from the get-go if you're just trying to get straight to the point and you don't want to show them the whole like narrative of God being totally against and opposed to and abhorring child sacrifice. The third book, like I recommended at the start of the video, was what? It was Deuteronomy, right? Correct. Now, Deuteronomy is very powerful. Why is it very powerful? Because he says something really significant to the children of Israel. God, through Moses, says to the people, look, when you go into the promised land that God is actually giving to you, do not go and try and research and learn how these different entities, these different people were actually worshipping their God. I, God says, do not want you to do those same things. God, with his foreknowledge, gives us a nice clear and concise example of what these pagans were actually doing in idol worship to their gods, which God is vehemently opposed to, he says, and does not want them to do to him. What is one of the examples, Israel? Well, let me show you. He says, they even offered their sons and their daughters as sacrifices in idol worship. These are the things God was saying, at a bare minimum, you should not do. He goes on and says, you know what, don't do these things. Most importantly, do not do those things unto me, but also you should go and follow the acts and the procedures that I've told you myself. If you look through the whole Bible, God never instructed or commanded the Israelites or even Gentile nations to offer a human sacrifice, let alone a child sacrifice to him. Now, the fact of the matter is this: never ever let someone from this point forward let you think that God was interested in child sacrifice. Now, if you like this video and you want to see more videos like this much more quickly, definitely consider supporting us on a monthly basis, or you can actually support us with a one-off gift. I'll leave those links in the description box for you to consider doing after this video. And some people are going to turn around and potentially say, well, what about Abraham, Israel? What about Jephthah? What about scenarios like this? And all I'll recommend you do is watch these set of videos right here, because we talk about examples like that and also other tough questions, as they say, levied against the Bible. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks and take care.